The Toronto Maple Leafs used to have Hall & Oates as one of their goal songs. Now it might be Tom Petty, and Free Fallin' would be apropos. Pierre, Kyle, Dan, as the Toronto Maple Leafs kicked off their pre-Olympic road trip with yet another loss. Pierre, losing to the Kraken 5-2. Troubled times in Leafland.
Very big troubles. Absolutely. No question. I got this team wrong. I'll admit it right off the top. I thought this team would be competitive for a playoff spot. I thought they would compete for the top of the Atlantic Division. I'm completely wrong on it. I'll admit it up front. That being said, there was supposed to be a DNA test and change with this organization to start the season. It didn't manifest itself at all. And you can see it right now. There are holes all over the lineup. They're going to have to start to really think about who they're going to keep and who they're going to move out. And I think the biggest thing, men, and it really matters, I was doing some number crunching. When you take away Mitchell Marner's season from last year, he played 81 games, 102 points, 27 goals, plus 18. Then you look at Willie Nylander's inconsistent year because of the injuries. Last year, he played all 82 games. He had 45 goals, 84 points. So you add the 45 goals of Nylander, you add the 27 goals of Marner, that's 62 goals. You need to score 250 goals to make the playoffs. If they have those 62 goals in the lineup, they make the playoffs going away, bar none. Doesn't matter. They miscalculated on the importance of Marner. I miscalculated on how good the team was. And now you're in a situation because the goaltending is a problem. Watch Stolarz last night. This is why they are where they are.
Pierre, I also made those miscalculations, so I'm not going to let you fall on that sword alone. I left my house a little over 2 weeks ago, and this team had seemingly righted the ship, and they were playing well, and they had gotten points in a number of games in a row. Now I return to Canada. I return to my seat here at the desk, and this team has gone in full free fall. Does this put Craig Berube on the hot seat?
I don't think so at all. This is not a Craig Berube situation. This is a management situation in terms of player procurement. They've got to do some serious soul searching, Kyle and Dan, in terms of how they're going to build their team going forward. They're not overly stacked at the American Hockey League level. They're not overly stacked at the East Coast Hockey League level. Probably their number one prospect is Ben Danford, who's a nice player, but you wouldn't say superstar caliber player, but he's going to play in the league. So they've got some serious soul searching to do. They got to have some very hard conversations internally. And then I think they've got to talk to players like Morgan Riley. They've got to talk to players like Jake McCabe. They've got to talk to players like Max Domi. And they should probably have a conversation with Bobby McMahon. They should.
The Olympic break's going to be torture for this squad.
It is. It's going to be big time torture. And you know what might be the most torturous for? Austin Matthews. If you do a deep dive on Team USA, and I'm just going to go briefly, Tage Thompson's playing better than him right now. Brock Nelson is playing better than him right now. And you look at the depth of the American team, Jack Eichel is playing better than him right now. Do you see any world where Austin Matthews is going to be happy being a fourth line center? No. So it's going to be painful for him too.
So, you know, is there the roster freezes start on February the 4th. The trade deadline is shortly after they return from the Olympic break. Is there any correction the Leafs can make in this market? Because it doesn't seem like they have a lot of wiggle room to even make a move.
No, it's going to be really difficult. I've talked to a lot of hockey people, decision makers over the last 48 hours, not just about the Leafs, but about teams all around the league. Some teams trying to be more proactive than others. The big domino to fall is probably going to be Artemi Panarin. When that happens, nobody knows, but clearly the Rangers are holding him out. They're not exactly hitting, home runs either with the way their season's gone. It's actually been worse than the Leafs, to be honest. So I think once Panarin falls, I think that's when the rest of the market kind of corrects itself, and then we see where teams are going to go.
Pierre, which one of these would make more sense to the Toronto Maple Leafs? Trade Austin Matthews after his 69 goal season in 23-24. I said this, he will never be better than this. This is when you trade him. Or I give you the sales pitch that I give the Leafs every year. Put me as GM for 1 year. What's the worst that can happen? Which of those two should the team do or should have done?
I would have looked at trading Austin, especially knowing what his value would have been with the 69 goal season. I'm going to go back to it. I know last year I wasn't a big fan of the way Mitchell Marner was getting beat up in the marketplace. I wasn't a fan of it. But clearly the team bought into the hyperbole that was around. This is a Marner problem, not a team problem. And Mitchell gets traded away. There hasn't been any fallback in his game. He's still on pace to be over 80 points this year. I mean, it's a tremendous year for him on a good team. They miscalculated, and because of that miscalculation, it's affected a lot of people on the team. One player has probably affected 6 guys.
Easily, Pierre. It certainly seems that way, and you could almost see it when they deflated in the Las Vegas game that I was actually in attendance for, the first one, of course, out in Las Vegas. So this team, it seems to me like if they implode, they miss the playoffs this year, they start going down a bad path. Are we going to eventually be looking at an Austin Matthews exit very similar to the way Mitch Marner left town?
You know, you probably are. I'm not obviously not in those hierarchy meetings right now, but I would say realistically, he's not getting any younger. He's getting close to 30. He's closer to 30 than he is to 20. And so you look at it and you say, okay, what do we do? What's he worth? What would a team like Utah pay to get him, Dan or Kyle? What would a team like Los Angeles, who's going to be desperate for a new star because Anze Kopitar is retiring, what's the price point if he gets traded there? Would he waive to go back out west? I think there are more than enough suitors for Austin Matthews. And maybe, quite frankly, not trying to be mean, maybe he needs a change of scenery. Maybe it's just been too good for him in Toronto.
He would be running to the airport.
Yeah, I mean, all you got to do is have the civilized conversation. I think the public humiliation thing that the New York Rangers have done with some of their people has proven to be the wrong tact in terms of how you deal with players in this generation. I would make it more rosy for us and saying, look, what can we do to make you happy? And if it means going away, we'll keep that internal and we'll move you. Tell us where you want to go. I think that at some point you create a marketplace for a player like that if you want to do it. And I'll give you a case in point because I was involved in it. When Ronnie Francis got traded out of Hartford, there were a lot of people saying, yeah, see, he couldn't win. He couldn't win. He couldn't win. Ronnie Francis's whole career changed. And the perception of him as a player changed when he got traded to Pittsburgh. He needed to get out of Hartford. It was that simple. And he did get out of Hartford, and he found the perfect role playing behind Mario Lemieux and insulating a player like Brian Trottier and doing a real good job with Jaromir Jagr. I think I would present that to Austin Matthews and say, here's a OHL player, a guy that's in the Hockey Hall of Fame, one of the top playmaking centers in the last 50 years in the NHL. This is what happened to him when he got traded. Would you have an appetite for that?
At a $13.25 million cap hit, that's a pretty attractive price in today's market for a player of his caliber. He's got 2 seasons left on that deal after this one. It seems like this year or in the offseason would be the time to pull the trigger on that to get the most back for him possible.
I totally agree. I completely agree. And I'm not trying to run Austin Matthews out of town. If Austin's watching this or his friends, they'll tell you, like, I've been a huge Austin Matthews backer, but with Marner gone, with Nylander in and out, which we don't know because of injury, I don't see a lot of good fits. And let's go one other step. Matthew Knies has not been 100% this whole season. I've done a lot of post-game shows with Kyle, Dan, and I've said there's something wrong with Matthew Knies. There's something wrong with him. And now it's starting to come out that he's been an injured player for a good portions of this season. I have a ton of respect for that kid. But when they broke up Knies, Matthews, and Marner, that whole thing changed. That whole team changed. You can say whatever you want about the goalies and the defense and everything, but they didn't have the offensive firepower to compete in games because that line was messed up.
You mentioned goalies. I have this conversation at the start of every year. That's one position the Leafs have not focused enough on because you go back, who was the last big name stand on your head goalie the Leafs had? Ed Belfour?
Curtis or Eddie. Curtis or Eddie would be the two. And again, they're the one. I'll just say this. They're the ones that chose to trade Tuukka Rask. Now, it wasn't this management team, but they chose to trade Tuukka Rask right after the World Junior in 2006. I'm not saying he would have been the answer to all their problems, but I can tell you right now, Tuukka would have had a heck of a career in Toronto had he not been traded out of Toronto.
How dire Like, is this season? It can't be written off yet, Pierre. But how dire are these last games before they go into this break? Just to go to the break on some sort of a good note.
Well,
You
they have
lose
to
in
play at
Vancouver.
about an 80% clip the rest of the way, don't
Yeah,
they?
you'd have to be up really high. I think the number the other day was you got to win 20 or 30, something like that. So here's what I would tell you guys. I don't think it's realistic, number one. Number two, once you're double-digit points out come the All-Star break, and they're already 10 points out now, there's a real good chance it might be more than 10. You're not making it. It's like the All-Star break. When you're double-digit points out at the All-Star break, starting with the collective bargaining agreement in 05, 06, only 2 teams have made it double-digit points out. One was Buffalo and the other one was Dallas. That's it. So if you're double-digit points out by the time the All-Star break comes, and this year it's obviously the Olympic break, you're not making it.
Pierre, can we revisit that when I gave the options for the Leafs and one of them was having me as GM for the year, that you didn't even consider it for a second? And I was going to have you on my cover letter.
But here's why I didn't accept that, because I know you're a true baseball man. You're a
You
phenomenal
got me.
baseball man.
You got
And
me.
because of that, I don't want you to have to be a 2-sport superstar. I want you to focus on one thing, and that would be baseball. Just getting home runs and triples and doubles and no hitters. I think you got a lot of moxie wanting to go across the street and go be the GM of the Leafs. I like it. There's a lot of chutzpah there, but I think you're a baseball guy.
Dan would have Shohei Ohtani in net for the Leafs by the end of his first month.
Is there anything he can't do? He would probably be MVP.
We have no proof that he's not an excellent NHL goalie.
We have no proof.
Do we have anything else before we play our game?
No, let's talk about the Olympics. Let's talk about something
we're
positive in
talking
hockey.
Olympics.
Positive.
Olympics are coming up. We're starting to see the Olympic commercials. They pump me up.
I watched the Canadian women leave Montreal the other night at the airport. It was awesome. What a rousing send-off. It was phenomenal. Really cool. That's going to be – I wish they could play best 3 out of 5 for the gold medal. Canada versus U.S. It'd be dynamic theater.
Yeah.
They're obviously not going to do that. But that'll be the gold medal game. It'll be something special to watch. The Canadian men are really good. We all know that. My biggest question, though, for Canada – will the offense be enough? And the offense is going to be really good to overcome what might be a bit of an issue in goal. And if they can score more than 3.5 goals a game, I think it will be, in which I expect they'll be able to do that.
Going back to the women's for a second, Pierre, because I find the tournament fascinating because of the emergence of the nations beyond the big two.
Yep.
Who's going to surprise us in this tournament? Like, put Canada and the U.S. aside. We know those 2 teams are likely to get 2 of the 3 medals. Who else is in contention for that 3rd medal, be it the silver or bronze?
Czechia and Sweden. Watch for Czechia. They're going to be the big surprise, I think, on the women's side. They're really good. I've been talking to a lot of hockey decision makers on the women's side of things, and that's one of the programs outside of Sweden, Finland, Canada, and the U.S. It's really started to make major inroads with their women's game. So I would expect Czechia is probably the country to watch in terms of a surprise.
And just confirming, we're all done with issues with the rink. They ran their test things. Have they got the ice correct?
So the intel that I gave you guys a couple of weeks ago was spot on, and my source was unimpeachable. It's a major person at the National Hockey League office, and he would know everything. And he just said, the rink will be ready, the seats will be ready, the amenities might not be as great as everybody's expecting, and it won't be the same caliber of dressing room that you have in the National Hockey League, but it will be clean and it won't be a dirty area, let's say. So will it have the amenities of what we had in Vancouver or what we had in Sochi, which was really good, or what we had in Salt Lake City or Torino? No, it won't. It won't be as good. But it's still the building's going to be good inside. Building will be fine.
Here, I want a quick comment as a Hamilton-based fella. Talk to me about the Bridgeport Islanders moving here to finally put a hockey team at the professional level in that stadium.
I'm really excited about that, actually. I love it when teams leave the American side of the border on the American League situation, move to Canada. I think it's great. They haven't had a lot of success. Matthew Darsh, who's the general manager of the Islanders, put a lot of emphasis now into building or rebuilding their American Hockey League team. I think it's going to be fantastic. I think about the glory days when the Canadians were in Hamilton and they were winning the Calder Cup with Carey Price there.
Yeah.
I remember when Vancouver used to be in there and they used to make it a fight night every night because Brian Burke was running that thing then. So there are a lot of good memories about Hamilton being in the American Hockey League. Spent a lot of good nights at Cops Coliseum watching it.
Is
And
Jim
Gretzky to Lemieux.
Balsillie involved?
I don't know the answer to that.
So you're saying it might still not happen, Dan. Okay, fair enough.
I'm excited for it. You know what? I got to tell you right now, I'm just really, really excited about it. And I think it's great. I think it's great for hockey in Canada. I really do.
The hammer. It's back. Let's play 1 degree of Pierre McGuire. Let's go right behind me. I don't think I've ever gone here. Oh, okay. LA King, John McIntyre.
That, you know what? I think I remember him more as a Leaf than I do as a King. But steady, I didn't really know John very well, but I think that's kind of more of my knowledge base of him. I think you got me on this one, Dan. I might be wrong.
John,
but-
okay, let's pull up his hockey DB because I don't know him at all. John McIntyre. Bear with me. That's Canadian ice hockey player. You want to know his stats? He played for he played for Guelph in the O. Then he played for the Leafs for 2 seasons, 89-90, 90-91. Then he played for the LA Kings for 2 seasons, and then the New York Rangers, and then finished with your Vancouver Canucks. He played a total of 351 games.
Yeah, I remember him most as a Leaf. That was the start of my NHL coaching career, so I remember him very much playing with Toronto. That's my.
He might be the only NHLer ever from Ravensworth, Ontario.
Wow.
And he's the only player whose card was glued to Dan's wall and then went up in value.
He's from the 1987 NHL Draft. Who went first in the 1987 NHL Draft?
Oh, was it Pierre Turgeon? Pierre Turgeon?
You are correct, my friend.
Well done.
Followed by Brendan Shanahan.
So if you had to redo that draft, that was a big question. You take Shanahan for the toughness, or do you take Turgeon for the skill? And, you know, both guys are in the Hall of Fame. It's kind of like what happened with Doughty and Stamkos. You couldn't go wrong. Both guys ended up winning 2 Stanley Cups. So, yeah, no, it's kind of interesting how it all plays out. But that was 87 was I was coaching college hockey at the time, but I saw both those players play, Turgeon and Shanahan. And boy, they were fantastic junior players. Really, really good. By the way, can I give a shout out to the CHL on this show? Yeah. I was just part of a group that picked the top 50 players for the last 50 years in Canadian major junior hockey. And I put a lot of time into picking my 50 players. I can't wait for that list to come out. It was such a fascinating exercise. You forget that Mike Bossy was playing junior hockey 50 years ago. People forget that. You know, Bernie Federko was playing junior hockey 50 years ago. Brian, go look at the numbers with the guys who were playing for the Brandon Wheat Kings, 45 years ago. It's amazing. Brian Propp and Ray Ferrar and all these guys. So it's pretty, that exercise was fascinating. I love doing it.
Was John McIntyre on your list?
He was not on my list.
Okay. Good career in Guelph, though.
You know I'll tell you who was first on my list. He wore number 66 in Pittsburgh. I had him ahead of 99, who played in Sault Ste. Marie.
And to tie a bow on this, he scored the most important goal in the city of Hamilton's hockey history.
There you go. And a
1987 Canada Cup.
That's right.
With a pass from 99, which was pretty good.
Best moment in Hamilton hockey history.
And Larmer was wide open. Oh, no, it was Murphy. It was Murphy at the side of the net.
Number 8, Larry Murphy.
He was wide open. They're like, don't give it to him. Don't give it to him.
If you're Larry Murphy on a rush with Lemieux and Gretzky, you're not on a rush.
Just be onside. If you're Larry Murphy, just be onside.
A pretty cool story for you guys. I had the honor of coaching Larry Murphy in Pittsburgh, and I once went up to him at a practice. We were skating around. I said, every big picture in the last 10 years of hockey, you're in it. And it's amazing. It's true. This was like 1992. If you go look at all the big pictures, whether it was Canada Cup, some of the Stanley Cups, playoff games, Murph is in all of them. It's amazing. It really is.
Who was that NBA player that just kept getting traded to the championship team every year? Was it Robert Ory or something? He just, and I can't remember. But he won like 6 of 7.
Wheelhouse. I'm a hockey guy.
Yeah, it just reminded me of that.
I have so much fun with you guys. Thank you for having me. I really do. This is so much fun. Thank you.
Let's go have some fun on a Friday.
Thanks, Pierre.
Thank you, man.